Well, welcome to the Sacred Heart Music Center in the Live from the Heart series. This is a series that celebrates Minnesota music makers, and it's supported by the Minnesota Arts Board. We are so fortunate to have the opportunity to really celebrate the talent all across our state, and to have that talent here at Sacred Heart is an absolute treat. My name is Karen Sunderman. I'll be your host for the evening, but we are really here to listen to a talented musician named Skarlett Woods. She is a folk singer with a little bit of a jazz flair, and I think you're going to enjoy a wonderful concert tonight. So without further ado, please welcome Skarlett Woods.
Thanks, Karen. And thank you all for coming out tonight. This is, I think this weather is starting to get under everyone's skin at this point. I'm gonna start you off with, I'm just gonna play one song for you, and it's about an 8-minute song. And it's about hope and loss and new beginnings. It's called Somewhere Between Stanley and Lotus / Gently. It's not the curl that falls next to your eye, or the crease where your smile starts to form. No, the brown glow inside a clever stare. When you tell me I'm all what you want, I can't help but sing. Gently help me sing. Gently. You gave me some time for a dance. My shoelace untied, unlocked my eyes from you. Was I wrong? I'm second guessing every move. Never knew love had a well that ran dry. I can't help but sing. Gently help me sing. Gently. Am I delirious, wasting away on troubled dreams? Am I delirious, wasting away on troubled dreams? Thanks.
Truly, what a gift. Tell us the name of that song again.
Somewhere between Stanley and Lotus / Gently. Yeah.
You want to explain the title, or should we just wonder?
Yeah, we can go into that. So I spent 15 years of my life living out west, and I just had so many adventures, and the pandemic kind of funneled everything to a point, and I was in a place where I went through a divorce 2 years ago, before that, and I was having issues in my relationship, and everything just wasn't working in my life at that point. And I went to these song camps. There was one in Lotus, California, and then Stanley, Idaho. And in between those two camps in late September, I just got this sense that everything will be okay. Everything will work out. This is just an end of a very dramatic chapter of my life and a beginning of something new. So, yeah, I try to put lyrics and words to that first part, but I just wanted to keep that open. And
It's powerful and beautiful.
oh, thank you.
Yeah. So Skarlett, you and I met here in this very building, Sacred Heart Music Center, after a Bonnie Raitt, Duluth Does Bonnie Raitt concert.
Yep.
And it was so wonderful to hear your voice and in this beautiful place.
I know.
And think of how many shows you've played. So you tell me about what you've done, and that's in the last year. You've been all over.
Oh my God, I've been getting to know Minnesota all over again. I've been I mean, I have shows, especially during the summer, just like 3 or 4 times a week. You know, in the wintertime, at least 1 or 2 shows, and they're all over the place. They're down in the cities. They're some in Wisconsin, some in North Dakota, and I went on a tour last fall, a West Coast tour, and I just been playing music like crazy. You know, it's like I didn't play anything during the pandemic. I built a tiny house. You know, I had to do something with my hands, and I did not feel inspired through music, but I felt inspired with adult Legos. So, so I got a tiny house out of it. So
That's awesome. It's kind of like building a new album brick by brick. maybe?
it did. It felt like an album. I'm like, it's a masterpiece. Look at this thing, you know. And the thing with building is like people can see your progress. And I can see my progress. Like with writing songs or putting an album together, I can't see any progress. Like you don't really get that feedback that you get from a beautiful structure, you know, because it's just, they're sound waves instead, and they're so subjective. You know, everyone just has their own taste and flavor for what they like.
So has this touring kind of seeped into your songwriting, or has it had an effect for you?
I think it has amped up my performance abilities quite a bit. Like it has taught me a lot about performance and presenting a show versus just going to a gig and playing through songs. Like it just feels like I'm making it more into a show because it's, I don't know, like I don't know. The songs are great. I mean, they make up the show, but it's also like you're adding this other character in the mix as well when you like, I don't know, that's what I've noticed in myself.
Any good road trip stories, you know, along the way?
Last year I almost got blown away by a tornado. All the tornadoes we had last summer. Everything got blown away, including my poor little tip jar, but I found the cash. It was like off the stage underneath this building, and I found like my little cash stash from the tips. I was so excited, but everything else just like got wiped out. Yeah, tornadoes. If it's not the winter, it's the wind that will, you know, slow you down.
The sound of wind is like the thing that scares me the most. I don't know how that resonates with you.
Especially up in Duluth.
Yeah.
Like, this is serious wind up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the sound of wind. Yeah. I don't know. Are you afraid of tornadoes?
Well, I am also a southern Minnesota girl and watched a tornado and was instilled with that deep respect that nature can take it away in a heartbeat. Yeah, it's a wild thing.
It is, and it just happens so quickly. Yeah.
So where did you grow up, and do you consider yourself a Minnesotan city girl, small town girl? Tell me a little bit about your background.
All right. I grew up in Brainerd, Minnesota, but then I moved away when I was 20 years old, and I spent 8 years living in Oregon and 5 years living in California. And I don't know if, I mean, I feel at home in Minnesota, but I also feel like there's parts of me that just don't fit here. And that might have been because I transplanted to the West Coast for 15 years, and it's just a different way of living and a different culture out there,
And the experiences that you have kind of become part of the fabric of who you are.
Right.
So what piece of your songwriting feels like Minnesotan, and what pieces feel like, oh, well, that one doesn't quite work here?
I would say when I use like diminished chords or minor seconds in my music, I feel like that's very Minnesota, and that's stemming from Eric Whitacre, because when I was in high school, I was in choirs all through K through 12, but my favorite composer for choral music is Eric Whitacre, and he would use minor seconds all the time, and it was just so beautiful. I didn't know that you could add all these little colors and flavors into these chords. So I would say that that's the Minnesota part of my music.
Oh, he has such a strong, powerful.
Do you know?
Whitaker is one of those amazing composers. So what pieces of travel or other places don't feel like they are the best for Minnesota, or you're introducing maybe another element into what happens here?
I would say when I worked at a bakery in Ashland, Oregon, they would have Sunday afternoon jazz. And Ashland is one of these little gems in Oregon where, they have the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, but then they have these really highly trained retired musicians from the Bay Area that moved up to Ashland because it's slightly cheaper than the Bay Area. And there's this plethora of this talent, and these jazz players would just go to this bakery on Sunday and just play for tips because they just wanted to play, and they're just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal musicians. And that's where I met Bill Linhart, who was also a jazz player. He played the 7-string, which that's his guitar, actually. Its name is Bill.
Bill, thanks for making the road trip.
So I think having those rhythms of jazz and just taking lessons from him also kind of added that influence in my sound. And just, I don't know, he untaught me the guitar. So when you learn something and then you're learning that you have to unlearn what you learned, it kind of does something to you. And he wasn't an easy teacher to be with either, but the things that he would just make me think about when I would compose and when I would play music. Like one of his things he would always say is like, you're playing that bar chord. Why are you playing a bar chord? Do you want 6 or 3 G's in there? I'm like, no. He's like, what are you doing with 3 G's? I'm like, well, that's the root of the chord. He's like, yeah, but what does that do? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, all you need is 1. I'm like, oh, okay. So just like things like that, and then, further into, our lessons, he was like, all you need is the 3rd and the 7th, so I started to learn about open chord voicings, and I use a lot of that in my songwriting. So
it's different than your average folk sound. It really is.
Yeah, and that word folk, I know, it's like, I don't even know what that means anymore, and I don't know if my songs even tell a story. Maybe they do, but it's just, folk is just it's just used in so many ways, like, that box keeps getting bigger, I guess, which is a good thing. It's just put everyone in folk. But yeah, I guess there's some folk elements in there, but it doesn't feel like folk to me. Like when I think of folk, I think of I think of Bob Dylan when I think of folk, or Damien Rice. He sounds folky. Just, I don't know, those kind of players.
Yeah. How would you describe your sound then?
Oh gosh, Americana, soul, jazz. I don't even want to say jazz, because it's not jazz. You know, it's like, I use 7 chords, but it's actually not jazz. And I've had jazz players say to me, they're like, that's not jazz. I'm like, I know it's not. Don't hurt me. You know, but it's, I think what people are hearing is like these rhythms that you hear in jazz, you know, and some of the textures. And maybe that's why they're calling it jazz. But
You have more music to play. You want to set anything up before you step back into Bill and what is the other guitar name?
Taylor. I know. It's just, you know, it's on the, you know, not original at all, but oh well. No, I think I'm ready to
Okay.
play
All
some
right.
more.
Take it away.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, this next tune I wrote when I was sitting on a porch in Portland, Oregon. This is called Portland. Thousand miles away from home, sitting on a Portland porch alone. I know you think I'm crazy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I know this world is full of fear, but I just need to feel you in your bed. Can't wait to see your face again. 2 years too long since we made love that fed. Oh, that fed. Pour my mind into yours. Feel my hand inside you. How about we head out to the coast? She's been such a long time, good old friend. They say this place would be the last, the human race would have their resting place. But I'm so glad I have a niece, scared to death if I had others to feed. Oh, but this feeling in me right now pulls and pulls me wanting to grow you in me now. Pull my mind into yours. Feel my hand need you. Thanks. Young couple with a little kid, cracked walls and the smell of wood. Hold me in this room by myself. Bars lit for a Friday night. Two kids walk the alley light, and I play a lick and wonder why did I? Can't stop thinking, oh, I'm thinking about you. Can't stop thinking, oh, I'm thinking about you. Yeah. By the way, when you felt so close to me, I watched a full moon rest glowing off your chest. Skin shadow in the steam of a room. I look away, close my eyes and swoon. I don't think I should be looking over at you just yet. Clock takes over your breath. Whatever gift to touch your flesh, you just beat and beat and beat on out front of me. Yeah. Can't stop thinking, oh, I'm thinking about you. Can't stop thinking, oh, I'm thinking about you. By the way, when you felt so close to me, watched a full moon rest glowing off your chest. And I think that I know you, but I know that it's not fair. And I know that you love him, but I don't really care. Yeah. Ooh. Thank you. So this is Bill. Bill's a 7-string nylon classical guitar with a low A. This next tune I wrote is pretty recent, and it's kind of my rant about how this is such a narcissistic, selfish culture that we live in right now, and I don't know what to do about that except to write a song. This is called Me, I, Me, Me. Why don't you just shut up and leave me alone? I don't care about your selfish tone. You think you know how this world should be, but all I hear from you is me, I, me, me. People are hurting and hating these days. I asked my doctor friend, will this ever mend? She said we don't have a cure for stupidity. My advice is hold on to your friends and family. I don't claim to know a thing about life. It's 6:18 and I don't wanna fight. The steps of violence are led by fools, intercepted at a Lonely Hearts Avenue. Got my little leash. I've been mixing these lyrics around on this song. I am notorious for forgetting words. I just make up words on the spot sometimes. No one knows what's going on. It's fine. But that's why this is up here. This next tune, I want to dedicate this one to a friend. When I first moved back to Minnesota, I met this incredible person, super smart, and just everyone just wants to hang out with this person. You know, she's just like this beam of light, and she's just this beautiful soul. So this is for Fallon. It's called Minnesota Farm Girl. I'm riding down these roads, burning through a life well lived, looking for something to give me a sign. Suddenly, as if time knew, I woke up from a daze and I found you looking at me, trapped in a scene. I was full of mud, hair messed up all around with nothing good. There's times I wish I would look at how you see this world and how you find its beauty all the time. But standing still now, it's clear, never met a soul that's so kind, my dear. I'm just a broken heart lover girl trying to beat my best time. Still scared to trust, but little by little you're showing me how to be a better me. If this world could be a little more like you, if this world could learn a little more from you, this Minnesota farm girl and all she be. There's times I wish I would steal away from that lonesome road, stubborn, restless woman I've known to be. August skies carry me away, dreaming of a world with better days. You turn my frozen morning to a summertime afternoon. Oh, that warm compassion takes a woman like you for my heart to feel the truth. If this world could be a little more like you, if this world could learn a little more from you, if this world could love as deeply as you, this Minnesota farm girl and all she be, oh she be, oh she be. Thanks. Okay.
Just because I have very little experience with a 7-string guitar that, for whatever reason, that hasn't crossed my path very many times, show me what makes Bill a 7-string so special. Oh.
So I add 8 more staves below E. So I just, you get these really nice bass lines.
Oh boy. Yeah, you're your own rhythm section.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I don't have to hire a bass player ever. So.
So all of the music you're playing here tonight is going on a new album,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit of, how much music do you have to create? Tell me a little about the process.
Well, the process is insanity for me, but I think other people involved are having a good time. I'm still trying to finish 4 songs, and they're very important songs that and maybe that's why I'm having a hard time finishing them, because I'm putting these expectations in my mind, and I'm like building them up to be, it's gotta be the best song in the world, but they're songs based off of my experience out west. So the album's gonna be called Letters to the West. So
Tricky stuff, though. And you're working with a producer. Is this
Yeah.
new, or is this something?
This is so nice. I'm working with Kevin Bowe down in Minneapolis, and he's amazing. He's such a treat compared to my last experience. When I made my 2019 album, I didn't know what I was doing, and I know that. The guy that I hired, Daniel Scher, he's a phenomenal songwriter. I was kind of his first major project as well. So we were both like learning how to do these things, and it was recorded in probably like 2 days, and then a couple days of just like, adding extra little things, and I wasn't even there when he was mixing. Like we're like emailing back and forth, and with this project here, it's like I'm in the studio with Kevin, and I get to be a part of that mixing process, and it's so much better.
The difference between being a traveling solo musician and then working with someone who actually speaks the language, I don't know. Tell me about that.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, that's happened so much with Kevin. Like I'd be like, it needs more of like a 2 and a 4 like feel to it, and he would know exactly what I'm talking about. And just, I don't know, it's just, he's been around for so long too. Like he's late 50s, early 60s, around there. So he's been in the music scene so much longer than I have. So it's a treat to be around someone who knows so much more than you do.
We all have something to learn, and that will never stop. Give me a sense of your songwriting style. What comes first for you? I mean, you're a wonderful guitarist, so is that where it starts, or does it start with a kernel, a lyric?
It does. It starts with a guitar. It starts with the chords mainly, and just like a melodic phrasing with the chords, and it's usually stemmed from some sort of emotional turmoil that's happening in my life, or it doesn't even have to be turmoil. It's just whatever kind of feeling and emotion that I'm trying to convey. And I've always been attracted to that sort of presentation from music. I originally wanted to be a film score composer. So some of my favorite influences, it's like John Williams and James Horner, Randy Newman, Thomas Newman, all these film score composers. Because I just love that you can paint a picture without words with music, and it conveys often a deeper message than what words can give us, and that's what is just so attractive to me with music, is that part of it. So I always kind of start with that. I start with like the emotional story, and then kind of work my way into a melody, and then the lyrics are always last. And they're the hardest too. Like lyrics are just not my best thing that I struggle with lyrics.
I think most people do. I mean, that is a common challenge. So what is your way to work through it? Are you like, okay, I get up every morning and I'm going to spend 2 hours on this, and I'm going to be very disciplined, and then I was like that.
I'm not like that at all. No, it's like sometimes I go for walks. Like when I just need to go for a walk, and that's kind of where, or when I'm driving. It seems like when I'm doing something else with my mind, like if my mind is focusing on driving, it's like when it's in autopilot mode, that's what it is. When the mind is in autopilot mode, then I can kind of, then lyrics and words and stories come to me, and I start talking to myself, and I just get into these debates with myself about the world, and
talking back to the radio, talking
back to myself and talking to myself again, and just yeah I don't know, yeah, that when my head is in autopilot, that's kind of when the lyrics. So finding that space, that's the challenge. I think most of the songwriting happens when I'm not holding a guitar or doing anything with music, because there's just so much thought processing that I'm doing. Like even when I'm not playing the song, I'm thinking about the song. I'm like, should I make the chorus a little bit longer? Does it need a bridge? Like, is that note the right note to go to? Like, you know, I think there's more songwriting that happens when I'm not working on a song, when I'm thinking about it. So it's like having that space to have your mind wander is really important for me, so.
Do you have musical training? Did you go to like a ton of, musical classes? Do you have
I wish.
MFA?
I wish I did.
Music or anything like that?
I mean, my K through 12 training with District 181 in Brainerd, Minnesota, we had some killer choir directors. Like, they were amazing. And I think 3 or 4 of them went to St. Olaf, graduated from St. Olaf. Like, they're just amazing. I was really fortunate to have gone through that music program that they had at the time. And this is before No Child Left Behind went through, Every Child Left Behind. So, we had more support for the arts, and, you could take choir, band, and orchestra if you wanted to. I didn't take those other 2, but I was really into choir and got a lot of classical training with my voice from that. And then I found Bill out in Ashland, and I unlearned how to play the guitar with him. And then in Morro Bay, California, when I was living in Santa Cruz, I would drive down to Morro Bay because, I don't know, there's something about the music scene in Morro Bay and singer-songwriters. It just was flourishing, and it still is. There's amazing songwriters in Morro Bay. But I found a voice coach, JP Maddox, and I won like this little competition thing, and one of the prizes was to have a free lesson with him. So I went and, had a lesson with him, and, one of the things he said, he's like, all right, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your voice? I'm like, I want to sound like Whitney Houston. And he's like, oh, okay, well, we got some work to do. But I think what he taught me, though, is that there are parts of your voice that you can try to make sound like these singers that I absolutely adore. I'm not going to ever sound like her, but I can try to shape a vowel like she does. I can try to find that place in my palettes that has that note, that color of that note. So he really kind of opened that doorway, and that actually has affected my songwriting. My voice has. I write songs kind of with what my voice can do now than I did before. So,
are there particular musicians that you look up to that you would want? I mean, a Whitney Houston, a Bonnie Raitt. Are there people that it's like, okay, I'm gonna channel my inner this,
If I could hang out with people like musicians, I would hang out with the Punch Brothers, Madison Cunningham, Gabriel Kahane, Julian Lage, and Nickel Creek. And they all just happen to be friends with each other, too. So
you can invite them to Minnesota.
Actually, there's a camp that I'm going to go to in July with them all there. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know.
Seriously.
I'm so excited about that.
That
But
is
like
awesome.
they take music to this level where it's like I'm just blown away with what they can do, and then what I never thought you could do with music or with a song. Like, they'll take a song in a direction where I would have never even thought to do that, and they bring you back, and it's like, wow. It just And I love when music does that for me. So those are the inspirations.
And what advice do you have for other people who might be contemplating having, I think I want to do this. I think I want a career in music.
Oh, God. Well, I think you got to be a little crazy if you're going to go this route. But there are other avenues in music that you can certainly go into. Oh, gosh. What advice? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I don't want to do that cliche. Be true to yourself. That's such a cliche. Find your community, I think, is the advice that I would give. I mean, your community might not be the singer-songwriter community. Maybe it's the producer community. Maybe it's the folks that are into instrumentalists. Maybe it's the lighting crew, the tech crew, the production crew. Maybe it's the sound. Maybe it has nothing to do with that. Maybe you're making harnesses for, Britney Spears to fly up in the air, and I don't know. Find the community, because I think it's hard when you don't have folks that are in the same boat that you're in. And I've been really struggling with that. I haven't found my community yet. So I would go for community.
I would guess every time you put yourself out there, there's an opportunity. So this camp, a writing camp, whatever, you find those places where like-minded people gather.
Yep, yeah, yep.
We talked a little bit about this venue, and I know you've done an amazing amount of traveling around Minnesota. Give me a sense of your favorite venues, or what makes a good venue for you.
A space where people are listening. Yeah, that's a good venue. And this is, speaking of community, Duluth has probably been the best community in my entire career that has been nothing but supportive. Kim and Jose and Michael and Eric Swanson on sound, and you, this is, I'm just hanging out with my friends tonight, This community has just, it's not like San Francisco. It's not like Santa Cruz or Morro Bay. Duluth is amazing. It really is.
It's good to
You
hear.
guys are lucky. You're really lucky. And Minneapolis doesn't have this kind of family feel to it either. It's too big, I think, so.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's really good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
I know you have more music.
Yeah.
Last song coming up. But how do people get in touch with you if they want to find you playing somewhere? How do they keep up to date?
The best way is my e-newsletter. I have an email newsletter you can sign up on. Or if you want to become a patron, there's stuff on my Patreon that I post about what I'm doing. But shows, if you want to follow my shows, they're on Spotify and they're on my website.
One more question. What's the best way to support a musician?
Come into the shows. These two right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And buy merch.
Buy some merch.
Is that still
Tell your
important?
friends. That's another thing. It's like word of mouth. Tell your friends. If you like this musician, tell your friends. Spread the word.
Yeah. Okay. The local Duluth area shows coming up. The Brew House on April 1st.
Yep.
Earth Rider Brewing on May 3rd. That's a fun venue as well.
It is.
Grand Rapids Brewing.
Yep.
So people around the upper northern part of Minnesota, but you play all over.
I do. Yeah. It's kind of. I think my butt is becoming more flat because I sit on it all the time. Driving in my car. It's all right. Summer's coming around. Get out the bike.
Put on the bike of the car.
Get on the bike.
Yep.
Yep.
You got it. Well, I know you have one more song for us.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the last of my words, and then we get to listen to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
For
Karen.
being part of this. This is really awesome to have you here.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, we need more voices like yours.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to say thank you to all of you for watching tonight. This is the Live from the Heart music series from Sacred Heart Music Center here in Duluth. Coming up here, April 1st, Peter Mayer and Sarah Thompson, which will be a fantastic show. The 13th of April is Billy McLaughlin and Michael Gulazin. They'll be playing here on this stage. Keep your eye on the Sacred Heart website. That's where you get updates from this. I want to thank the crew who have done a fantastic job, Jose and Kim. Eric, you do an amazing job, Eric Swanson, and Mark as well, promoting what's going on here. So thank you. And thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board for giving us a chance to really highlight the talent that's in Minnesota right here. So Skarlett will play us out, but I want you all to remember to support your local musicians. Have a good night.
Thank you, Karen. Karen's great, isn't she? This is a single I just put out last month. This is called Close to You. I spoke a little secret as you stepped out of the room. I leaned a little closer after all the springs in bloom. Thought away what I waited to say. I'm feeling a little braver these days. You came into my life, placed your prints all over me, called us to become like one. That night gave me a song. I got hooked by your smile, pulled me from a mile. I'm feeling a little braver these days. I'm feeling braver, braver these days when I'm close to you, when I'm close to you. My heart hurries to love, steady moves leading this time. Was feeling for a beat where our steps would fall a line. I got hooked by your style, pulled me from a mile. I'm feeling a little braver these days. I'm feeling braver, braver these days when I'm close to you, when I'm close to you, when I'm close to you, when I'm close to you. Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Kim, Jose, thank you, Michael. Where did Michael go?